Good morning. It is Saturday, September 7th, 2024. It's a pleasantly cool morning. We've had a little bit of rain. I'm very thankful for that. It's been kind of a very dry summer overall. It was extremely dry in June, and we had rain almost every day in July and hardly any since then. So I'm thankful for a little bit of rain that fell yesterday and this morning. I'm standing at the orchard here in Greene County and looking at the old I-Chang lemon that I grew from seed, planted in 2000, I believe it is. And I saw a recent Facebook post asking the question, can you grow citrus in North Georgia? And I don't know if I really qualify as North Georgia here. It's certainly the northern half of Georgia. We're not in the mountains by any means, and actually in the lower Piedmont, about 20 miles away from the fall line. But some people would certainly consider this to be the northern part of Georgia, or middle Georgia, central Georgia, however you want to put it. We're definitely not in the citrus belt. And here we are looking at a tree that's about, close to 20 feet tall anyway, and regularly produces fruit. So can you grow citrus in the northern half of Georgia? Well, you probably can't grow navel oranges or lemons or things like that without some kind of protection, but yes, you can grow citrus, and here is proof of that. But I wanted to focus today on some things I planted this year and trying to expand the grove here a little bit from the ones that have been here a long time. And so I'm focusing here on things that really don't require any protection at all. Remember, if you've seen one of my earlier videos, this is a very exposed location. I'm looking northwest right now. This is where the cold winds blow in the wintertime. And so really everything is very exposed. So I do focus things here on things that are tough and can take it. So if you know much about citrus, many of those are going to have some trifoliate orange in their background. So I thought I'd walk through some things that I planted this year and just give a little citrus tour, and also highlight the benefits of waiting a little while to plant them. So we will start with this one. This is CiClem number 10. I grew this from seed. It was from an old tree at my old house, and I collected the seed and planted it, I want to say 2 years ago, and waited till I had a 3-gallon plant to plant it out. And you can see I planted it out in the spring, I think as I already said, but mulched it really well, tried to water it as much as I could. Everything here is hand watered, but it's done really well. And I think waiting till it was a 3-gallon plant to plant it out certainly was a benefit to it. The stem on it now is about the diameter of my finger, so it's certainly at a size now where it can take some cold weather, and I think it's ready to go through the winter here without any problem. It maybe some tip dieback if it gets really cold, but otherwise I think it'll be fine. If you don't know, CiClem number 10 is a trifoliate orange by Clementine, and this one has kind of a larger yellowish fruit. They call one of the common names for it, where it originated in Texas, is golden lime, and it's fairly edible out of hand, especially as a juice. So I'm very happy to have it and look forward to seeing it fruit soon. Moving along, this is US 942. US 942 is a Flying Dragon by Sunki Mandarin. It is developed as a rootstock, but surprisingly has pretty good fruit. You can see here it's got a little leaf miner damage, not unusual in late summer. A lot of times people worry about this, but except on a very small plant, I've never found it to be anything to be too concerned about. As they get older and more mature, I've never noticed that leaf miner is a big problem on any citrus. It does disfigure the leaves, and it makes them a little more susceptible to other damage, mechanical damage and cold damage later, but it doesn't seem to bother the plant. So we'll Come over here. This is an example of a smaller one I planted. This is Troyer citrange that I grew from seed, and it was a 1 gallon plant. You can see it's quite small still, and you can kind of tell that I went ahead and planted it out, but it probably would have done better if I'd waited, and I think it will probably be fine, no problems at all. But you can see the difference between planting something out from a 1 gallon or a 3 gallon. Sure makes a difference. The 3 gallons just seem to take off a little bit quicker. I don't know if you get much benefit from a plant that's larger than 3 gallon. Probably you would, but 3 gallons seems to be the magic size for me. They seem to do well. And I do tend to plant citrus in the spring. I don't plant citrus really much after July 1st, and because I'd want to give them plenty of time to get acclimated before winter. And while we're touring around, there's Monticello Citremon. If you're familiar with my videos and posts at all, you are familiar with this one. I've had it a long time. Also grew this one from a seed. It's never been affected in any way by anything, and it is just loaded this year. So you can see they're just starting to break a little bit with color, and they will certainly be turning yellow here pretty soon. They do tend to color pretty early in the fall, and by mid-October this tree will be a showstopper. As you can see, it's fairly close to the road, and every year when the fruit color, people stop and ask what it is. And second question they usually ask me is, what do you do in the winter? Well, obviously nothing. All right, moving on. This is a US 852, also planted from 1 gallon. US 852 is Trifoliate by Changsha Mandarin. There seems to be some potential with this one, and particularly as a breeding resource, and hopefully we'll see what it does. They tend to mix around a little bit, not always true to type from seed, and some interesting crosses have appeared from time to time, so we'll see what it does. Another one I planted from 3 gallon. This is Swingle Citremon. I planted it because I thought for many years that this was Swingle Citremon, and it's not. That is not. It's a unique one. So I wanted Swingle just to have it, at least as a contrast. So I planted this year again, another 3 gallon. You can see that it's done really well. Here's another Citremon. This is one I got from as a grafted plant from Madison Citrus Nursery. It is 1516, which is another rootstock, but it is unique in the sense that it is Trifoliate by African pomelo. So I don't know what the fruit quality is like or if it has any quality, but it's a unique little citrus, and I'm happy to have it. Again, this is Citremon or Citremon. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but if you're from the South, you just pronounce it however you want and let it ride. So this is Citremon. It is a lemon by Trifoliate. It's a very old cross. Dr. Walter Swingle made it many years ago, and it has interesting fruit, and I think pretty good fruit. It also has one of the largest leaves of any Trifoliate hybrid. This is not nearly as large as they will get. And one of the ways that you can always tell if something is a lemon or a lemon hybrid is take the leaf, crush it, and smell it. And if it smells like a lemon, it's definitely got lemon background in it. So I really like this one. It's one of my favorite Trifoliate hybrids, and this is a grafted plant. I got it from Madison Citrus Nursery. So I'm looking forward to seeing it fruit as well in the coming years. Continuing on, this is a little bitty Morton citrange that I grew from seed. Again, you can pretty well see the difference between a 1 gallon and 3 gallon. Certainly, I think it would have benefited from waiting one more year, but I was impatient. If something happens to it, I have more, so no problem there. And the last one I planted this year is another US 942. This one is cutting grown. I did get it from Madison Citrus Nursery, so it should fruit a little bit quicker. It was cutting grown from a mature plant, so it should fruit fairly quickly, at least more quickly than a seedling will. I just like this one. I thought the fruit was good. To me, it tastes like sour candy, and I got kind of excited about it. I planted 4 or 5 of them around, so hopefully I'll get some fruit off these in a couple of years anyway, and we'll see how they do. That's pretty much it for what I planted this year, at least out here. I planted a lot more stuff elsewhere, but hopefully these will continue on in the years to come and add to the collection. We'll just take a quick scan around again, and you can see some of the ones over there. A little rain in the background. And I've got a few here. We'll just finish up by taking a look at some of the older ones. One that doesn't get a lot of attention is Rusk Citrange, and I have one here I've had for a long time. A lot of the citranges, as you can see, it has some cold damage at the top, which is probably surprising to some people, but it's not surprising to me. I've had this tree for a long time. It doesn't tend to get damaged in winter. It gets damaged in spring. In the spring of 2023, after the cold winter, it leafed out normally. It was blooming, and we had a pretty bad cold snap in March, and it killed it hard. And that was one of the problems with citranges as they developed them for rootstocks more than a century ago. Is they're very hardy as if they're dormant, but they tend to break dormancy very early, and once they do, they are as susceptible as anything else once they do. But Rusk is one that has a pretty small fruit. It is a blood orange hybrid, a ruby orange and trifoliate. It has beautiful fruit. It truly does. It's almost red. They are completely inedible though, but it's a nice ornamental. And this is my Dunstan Citremon. Pictures really can't convey how big this thing really is. It is enormous. It's probably 25 feet tall and at least as wide, and it's just hanging with fruit this year. They will color a little bit later than others. Not the most beautiful fruit, but certainly it does draw attention when it's fully colored. And they are edible, definitely. To me, they taste like a really strong grapefruit. Not a lot of trifoliate flavor. A lot of grapefruit flavor, but not a lot of sweet there. It just is just strong. If you dilute it or you put a little sugar on it, it's definitely edible. No problem. It's just, to me, it's a very powerful tasting fruit. But it definitely juices well. It's absolutely gorgeous, and when it's hanging with fruit, and when people see it in person, they really just can't believe it. And we'll round it out with one last stop. Cross over here. This is a Thomasville I planted many years ago. I think this one's about 20 years old, and they don't get a whole lot bigger than this. It is a kumquat hybrid, so they don't get much bigger. And it's got quite a bit of fruit on it this year, as you can see. Thomasville is one of my personal favorites. It just is indestructible, really. Very useful fruit. You can certainly eat it right now, but it will hang for a long time, and will hang through the winter if it doesn't get much below 25 or the low 20s, and becomes sweet enough to eat out of hand by about January or February if it doesn't get frozen. It can be used as a lime or a lemon until then. To me, its biggest drawback is it just takes forever to turn any kind of color in the fall. So if you want to make marmalade out of it, which it makes really good marmalade, and you want it to be orange, you have to wait till it turns color. And otherwise you have green marmalade, which I guess is fine. Just most people think of orange marmalade when they think of it. But anyway, it's a very attractive tree. This is on its own roots, and if you've ever grown Thomasville, the first few years it's kind of gangly and scrawny looking, but over time it does develop a nice character, and this is a nice tree now. I've seen grafted Thomasvilles that look very nice, and I think it does benefit from being grafted, but certainly will do well on its own roots, no problem. That's what I've got right now here, and again, very thankful for the rain and for the little slightly cooler weather we're having. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Thank you.